Hey guys, welcome back to Whole Wellness. Thanks for tuning in. Today I want to share with you the two little tidbits that I started to share in a previous vlog that I wound up losing my mind about, the guy who inevitably goes out of his way to walk past my car and see what I'm doing when I'm vlogging in this park in the community where I live, where he takes his walk and excuse me, runs with his dogs. How are you guys today? I hope you're doing well. So these two little tidbits I wanted to share with you are related to physical fitness. I have found that stretching, more than anything else, stretching is probably one of the best things you can do for your physical health. And I think that's why a lot of people recommend yoga and Pilates and things like that, because it's more stretch focused fitness instead of like focused on calorie burning or muscle building. You know, it's not associated with those types of aspects of fitness. But here's why I, for one, believe strongly that stretching is such a huge benefit. So for years, and I've mentioned this before in other vlogs I've done, for years I've had problems with my lower back and my neck. My lower back problem started when my firstborn, who is now 19 years old, I had a cesarean, an emergency cesarean surgery for the birth. And I was probably just a couple weeks out of the hospital and I nursed him. And I bent over in a closet to pick something up in the closet. And it was kind of a small closet, tight quarters, and threw my back out. Literally in an instant, fell on the floor and couldn't move. And it literally at first wasn't even possible for me to get up. At first, the only thing I could do was like slide across the floor and into the kitchen. And I was laying on the kitchen for quite a time until I was able to get up and get to a chair. So if you're a woman who either is considering a cesarean or has had a cesarean and lower back problems, please pay close attention to what I'm telling you. Your muscles in your abdomen are sliced clean through to get to the baby. That cannot be good for the body, but the body can heal itself and you get stitched or stapled back together. But it takes effort and exercise to rebuild that muscle tissue and rebuild the balance and the strength in your back. That took about a week before I could really actually get up and walk. I remember being very afraid because that was the first time that had ever happened to me. How I was going to nurse the baby, how I was going to lift the baby. Thank God we made it through that because I remember it being an extremely stressful time of our lives. I didn't wind up having any further problems with my back until like 10 years later. And when the second incident had happened, it was about 2 months, 3 months after we had moved from Florida back to my home state. And I had canceled my UFit gym membership. And I had not started yet a new workout regimen. We had just moved across the country. I was in a new job. We were still trying to unpack the house. It was a big job. If you've moved cross country before, you know what kind of a big job that is, especially when you have a family and you're not single or just a couple. You get and you accumulate so much more stuff when you have children because you have extra beds, extra dressers, extra toys, just extra stuff. I digress. I was working again in a closet and my back went out on me again. But this time I didn't fall. I was able to catch myself on the wall and hold myself and move myself to a chair. Now, I had just started a new job. Also, it was in the middle of winter. So the snow was deep. It was cold outside. And so we couldn't even have the benefit of a lot of sunshine, fresh air, open windows, walks. It was the worst possible timing for this sort of thing to happen. And at the same time, when it happened, I pushed myself very hard. And ever since that second incident happened, it started happening more frequently, but in less severity. So it's been there this 19-year span of time since the first time I hurt my back. And I was 30 when he was born. So it's not like I was super young, and also had never had back problems up to that point in my life. So it was definitely pinpointed to the cesarean and definitely significant for me to have had that happen. And I was afraid of future back injuries. And that's about the time when I injured myself again, when my son was 10 years old, is when I started to work out at the gym again. And then there were some in between times where I'd quit or fall off the wagon and then go back, but nothing like the last 3 years, nothing like this cold turkey, hardcore 3-year break. Like, it was always like a couple months at a time that I would have in between gym memberships, but I was working out. And so I noticed this direct correlation between the back injuries and the cesarean, and then the severity of the subsequent back injuries going down as I worked out more. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I started coming to the conclusion that even if I didn't work out, I needed to at least walk, because walking seemed to lessen the frequency and severity of the back twinges. And I got to the point where I believed that my maximum break that I could allow myself to have without a good mile or two walk to stretch was 3 days. And if I didn't walk at least once every 3 days, and preferably every day, my back would go out on me, or I would twinge it or something. I was cleaning trash out of offices, a couple years ago. I think it was the summer of 2022, and my back went out on me at work. I didn't fall on the ground, but it twinged, and I didn't have to take any time off work, but I was hobbling around and moving very slowly. And at that time, it had been many weeks since I had gone on a nice long walk. At that time, I had been taking advantage of my e-bike. And so at that time, when that happened, I was like, what the heck did I do? All I did was lift a trash can, and bam, all of a sudden, I have a twinged back again. At that time when it happened, I remember being very angry. Like, why? When is this back stuff going to go away? I refused to consider surgery because I didn't think that was necessary when it was happening so sporadically and unexpected. Like, this was not a chronic problem. So I figured there was something preventative I could do about it. And I called one of my younger brothers, the one that lives about an hour from me, that I tend to get along with really well. So I called that brother, and excuse me for a second. Coffee calls. And had this conversation with him because I knew that he had had back problems that landed him in the hospital before. And he had done a couple of athletic competitions in our area where they run, swim, bike, not triathlons, but because they run through mud and do obstacle courses and things like that. I had talked to him because I wanted to find out what his experience was, if he had additional problems with his back, what he did to resolve those problems, and just kind of bounce ideas, because I had it. And I told him when I picked up the phone, I said, I've had it with these back issues. What is going on? What do I need to do? And during the course of that conversation, we talked for probably an hour. He told me that he found out, and he did have additional back problems, but nothing like the original problem that landed him in the hospital, which was a bulging disc or something like that. Sorry, I'm kind of like distracted. I see that guy's dog. One of his dogs, the guy that's nosy. The fortunate thing about me this morning is my windows are all fogged up. I'm not sitting in the back seat this morning. It's cold out and it's snowing. So if I need to turn the car back on and get some heat, I'm sitting in the front so that I can take advantage of that. I don't see the guy anywhere, but if you see someone nosing around my car, that's what it is. It's that dude being his nosy self. Getting back to, so I don't get off on a tangent with that again, getting back to the back. My brother, getting back to the back, that's funny. Back to the back. Sounds like a rap song. Anyway, segue. I was distracted because I was looking at that dog and wondering where the guy is. And I don't see him, but my windows are fogged. So in that conversation, my brother was telling me about how he had had additional struggles with his back. Nothing as severe as that incident landing in him in the hospital. But he had done a ton of research and talked to a bunch of people himself and had learned that the problem with lower back injuries is actually lack of strength and flexibility in your hips. And my mind went, so not only did I get cut across the abdomen, I also have very large hips. And I'm also a biker and love biking. So all of these things are working against me because you don't really get a lot of stretching on a bike. I'm going to try to interject a photo here of the kinds of stretches that I've done the last year and a half after a walk, and particularly now that I'm back at the gym, to stretch my hips and how significantly I have found this to help my lower back pain. I am running out of time, so I'm not going to talk about the neck thing today, but if you struggle with lower back pain, think about the fact that your lower back is being supported and guided and carried along by the muscles and tendons and joints that are below your lower back, i.e., the closest system to your lower back is your hips and your legs. So if you struggle with lower back issues, I encourage you at the very least to walk, especially if you threw your back out and you're able to stand and take steps, and definitely consult with your doctor before doing any of this. Even if it's just walking up and down the hallway, I wouldn't adventure up and down stairs, but if you can just walk up and down your hallway of your house or your apartment, and as you start to get better, and intermix that with rest periods, but do it several times a day so that you don't get stiff and the muscles don't tighten back up again. If you want your back to get better, you've got to stretch the muscles and make them strong. I will share the information with you in a future video that I discovered about my neck. I touched on this and did a video previously, but it's been probably a year since I've done that. And I want to share that information with you too, because I've recently been reminded of that. And I've been struggling with my shoulder, my right shoulder, but it goes back to my teen years and being in track and throwing shot put and discus and having bursitis in my shoulder, and finding out, I think at the age of 15, that I had issues with my shoulder. Again, there's reasons why I rejoined the gym. I believe in preventative maintenance, and hopefully this information is helpful to you. Take care, guys. Until next time, have an awesome day. Bye.